Hello, everybody, and happy Wednesday. Welcome into GC Live here on Gamecock Central. Kendall Smith and Jack Veltri joining you here, and we hope that you've all had a great day so far. We're talking South Carolina football here on the show. Jack is back from Baton Rouge, and he's been working hard all week because we heard from Shane Beamer, Lenora Sellers, the coordinators today, just hearing from everybody ahead of South Carolina's game this upcoming weekend against Oklahoma. That's at 12:45 at Williams-Brice Stadium. Finally, Jack, not a night game for you, so I'm sure that you are excited about that. But what time will you set your alarm for on Saturday?
Okay, so of course, there's always a caveat or some catch with these games. We got the state fair here in Columbia. So, and I was driving past it today, heading to press conferences, and a lot of people were heading there. So, there's always a way to get there without dealing with all that traffic. But press box opens at 9:45. I'll probably set my alarm for, let's go with like 8. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
8 o'clock. Get a little bit of sleep. We'll figure out a time to do before the sandstorm. We'll figure that out. This is our first time having to do it with a day game, so this will be.
You can do it bright and early because I will be up bright and early on Saturday as well. So probably somewhere in that 8 o'clock hour, I would guess. We'll check in with all of you guys on social media later in the week to let you know what we ultimately decide. But yeah, when I was in school, and we were in school at the same time, Jack, for those of you that don't know, Jack and I graduated together. We were in senior semester together. Like, we were together for a lot of school. So we've known each other for quite some time now. And when we were in school, I lived at the row at the stadium. So I was right next to Williams-Brice. So whenever the state fair happened, I didn't even have to get near. I mean, I was close to it. Obviously, I could see it, but I just had to go right down Shop Road and then take a left, and I was at the stadium, and I didn't have to deal with any fair traffic. So that was never a thing for me. Everyone was like, oh, the fair. It only affected me when I would drive to class, and that was a little bit of a bummer. But during the week and the weekdays, it's not nearly as bad as the weekend. But I do love the state fair. Oh my gosh, I have so many fun memories of going there when we were in school. The food is delicious. Are you going to go out? Or are you going to check out the state fair?
So I have not done it yet this week. I may go. We'll see. I could go for the food. That would be pretty good, I think. We'll see. Drop in the comments below what you guys would normally get at the state fair. We'll see if that appeases whatever I'm feeling taste-wise. But maybe something will sound good. I do love what's your favorite food at the state fair?
Well, I love soft serve ice cream. It's my favorite kind of ice cream, which is kind of random because I feel like you can get that pretty much anytime, but I will always get soft serve ice cream. And I also like fried Oreos.
Oh, the fried Oreos there.
And a corn dog. I love corn dogs. Sorry. I love hot dogs. I love corn dogs. I know everybody is what's in them? I know, I get it, but there's only 2 places in the world that I would eat them. 1 is at a baseball game. 2 is at the state fair. That's it.
It's pretty good.
Truth.
Yeah, I might have to go this week and check it out, though. Now you're making me kind of hungry. So
this is hilarious.
What is worse? So yeah, how about the Islanders also starting out 0-3 this season? I mean, my gosh. I mean,
I clocked that last week. I said, Jack, I'm sorry. I think they're going to be at the bottom of the Metro.
Oh, did you see? By the way, you almost went perfect in staff picks, Kendall. You were off by 1 game.
And it was South Carolina?
Yes, it was South Carolina.
Because I picked Indiana to beat Oregon, and I stood on business in that, by the way. I knew it from the jump. I'm I'm not just picking this really because of my parents. I am picking this because I genuinely think Indiana's the better team, and they won. I feel like I also had another one that not a lot of people. Texas, yes.
Texas. Yeah, we talked about it on radio today. I was like, I'll have to send you the clip, but I was going through Kendall's picks. I'm like, all right, so you and somebody else picked Texas, and then I'm looking at Kendall's picks. I'm like, wait a minute, did she go perfect? And then I'm like, all right, she got all her normal picks right, and then I'm like, oh wait, she picked South Carolina. I read off the literal quote that you had about picking with your heart and all this other stuff. And I'm like, what are you doing, Kendall? What do you have to say for yourself? Picking South Carolina.
I have to say that I stand by that pick. South Carolina had opportunities to make that game better than it was. Okay. Like we saw what happened, and South Carolina had its opportunities. So I stand by what I said in my decision to pick South Carolina. Now, we all know how that story ended, and we'll talk about it a little bit today on the show. But let's focus on the other ones that I got right. I mean, I got every other one right. No, I'm kidding. I am happy to hear that. But I have to say, like, Kurt Signetti, I mean, come on, we could talk about so much right now. We could talk about the James Franklin situation. We're not going to get into it because this is a South Carolina show. But what a crazy weekend of college football. And
a lot happened.
So hard to believe, like the whole James Franklin. It's not hard to believe because of this current climate. And Steve Sarkisian actually talked about it, I think, just like how difficult it is. Penn State almost won a national title last year, and they were play away from being a top 2 team a few weeks ago. And now all of a sudden, James Franklin is fired as Penn State's head coach. It is crazy. But before we get into all of that in South Carolina's game last weekend and this upcoming weekend and what everybody had to say, let's give a shout out to Clint Hammond.
Yes. So Clint Hammond of CMG Home Loans. If you've listened to me and Kendall before, you've heard us talk about our guy Clint and all the good things he does in the mortgage industry. So if you've ever thought about buying a home and just don't know where to begin, quite frankly, it seems like it's a pretty complicated process. Clint can help you out. He'll take you through the process step by step, get the best deal for you, let you know what you're paying, all that good stuff. He's been in the mortgage industry for over 20 years now. He's a lifelong Gamecock fan. He's also a longtime supporter of GamecockCentral.com and all of our GC Live programs. He's been the presenting sponsor here of GC Live for, years on end now. And he's always been a great sponsor of ours. 803-422-6797 is the number to call. The NMLS number for him is 71597. Or go to ClintHammond.com for more information. That will be above us here if you're watching live on screen all show long.
All right. Thank you so much, Clint, for everything. Let's just go ahead and talk about this.
Let's get the elephant out.
Yeah, we know what happened this week. Lonnie Teasley relieved of his duties in coaching the offensive line. That was the decision made by Shane Beamer this past weekend. It was announced on Sunday, and Sean Elliott will take over that position and will head up the offensive line. And Shane Beamer talked about it. He said that it was something he didn't take lightly, and he felt like he had to make the decision. And so this week, the ultimate question is now with Sean Elliott in charge of the offensive line, do you honestly think, Jack, like there will be a difference? Obviously, South Carolina's dealt with injury there, and there's been just a lot of ups and downs in the offensive line group all season long. But do you expect to see a significant difference this weekend against Oklahoma with Sean Elliott now?
Time will tell. Time will tell what the results on the field will look like. We can only speculate right now and just imagine what it's going to be like on Saturday. I will say, though, Shane Beamer did mention that there's pretty much a noticeable difference, at least so far in practice. He said, quote, Sean was literally lined up across from the center pretty much every play of practice, screaming, yelling, clapping, barking, blowing whistles, making move calls himself, just trying to make things as difficult as he possibly can. End quote. We know this about Sean Elliott. We know what type of energy he brings. Kendall, I'm sure you've seen that clip online of him from his time at Georgia State where he's just pushing guys and grabbing helmets and stuff and just getting the guys fired up before a game. Like, that is the type of coach that Sean Elliott is. And no disrespect to Lonnie Teasley, but he's a good recruiter, a good coach. But at the end of the day, he is not the same type of – not many people are the same type of energy as Sean Elliott. He's just a different type of breed. And Shane Beamer's talked about it a lot this week. Maybe all that South Carolina needs is just a different voice in there, somebody to get the message across in their own way. The thing that we're going to have to see this weekend, if we're talking about improvements, Kendall, you got to cut down the penalties. The sacks have got to be reduced somehow. I know some of them are on Lenore's and some of them are on the running backs missing a block and intentional grounding, all this and that. At the end of the day, you look at the sack numbers, 20 sacks in the season. That's near the bottom of the SEC. The tackles for loss are also way too high, 37 so far this year. So those numbers, when you look at them, they're automatically going to be attributed to the offensive lineman up front, right or wrong. The penalties are also another thing you've got to figure out a way to limit. As I said before, you've had 15 penalties on the offensive line so far this year. 11 of them are pre-snap. It's simple things, Kendall, where it's like if you're just more disciplined and you're thinking clearly like, hey, I can't have a false start here, then you should be good. Get those numbers down, and I would be interested in seeing how much better South Carolina looks, because I think they will be looking a lot better if they can minimize the penalties. The one thing I would say for sure, I feel like we're going to see a big difference in this weekend is just a little bit more intensity and also being smart and cutting down on those pre-snaps.
Well, it's not just the offensive line. I mean, the offense as a whole has had question marks all season long, and it's been something that a lot of fans, a lot of people that tune into this show have asked about, and they've talked about, like, what is going on with this offense? Because I think people expected more to this point in the season that they haven't yet seen from the group. And we've talked about it several times. Like, you feel like you have that talent when you look at the roster, when you look at this team, but you're not necessarily seeing all of that come to fruition out on the field. So Mike Shula spoke earlier today, and, he puts it pretty frank, and he'll talk about what's going on. He had a lot to say in that press conference. You were there, Jack. So what were your biggest takeaways just from the offense as a whole? So what Mike Shula had to say about last weekend with LSU and the disappointing performance that was, and obviously going into a very tough matchup this weekend against Oklahoma.
Well, as the comment from Garnet Yardbird says, I asked about
tough questions again.
I know we are asking tough questions. Somebody on our message boards was like, Mike's probably getting sick of hearing your voice at this point in the year. And I'm like, hey, you know what though? That's part of the job. You got to ask tough questions sometimes. You can't be everyone's friend. I asked him about the 4th and 4 play call, and I also asked Lenore Sellers about it yesterday, as I'm pulling up the quote here. But what Mike Shula said. The way I phrased the question was this, Kendall. Can you take us through the 4th and 4 play call in the fourth quarter from Saturday? Why was that the play call, especially when LSU is running a tight man coverage there? And I think it's a fair question to ask. And he said, quote, yeah, I'm not going to get into specifics on that. We have plays where we think that they're going to be good plays in that situation, and we call them, and hopefully we'll make a play. They have good players too. So unfortunately, we came up short there, end quote. I asked Lenoris about it yesterday as well, and he said, quote, we knew there was going to be man coverage across the board. We just thought our guy versus their guy. Competitive plays were a big thing last week. So it's kind of like, hey, it's man coverage across the board, so take the one-on-one, end quote. So 2 different perspectives on it there. Look, Mike does not have to answer the question, right? He does not have to. I understand it. I wasn't asking specifically like, what was the play call? Why, like, what play was it? Like, why? It's more so, why did you run that play there? Why did you run the curl route to the outside, especially going up against a defender like Mansour Delane, who had an electric night? I mean, I think he was graded super, super high on PFF after that game on Saturday. He's probably LSU's best DB. And granted, you had Dre Jacobs going up against him as South Carolina's currently best receiver. But I just thought it was a kind of an interesting play call, especially since LSU was running man all night long. So that was probably the main thing that you just take away from that, is just that, I mean, that was my main question coming away from it. But, just a lot of regular questions about the offense and just, how do you get this thing going, right? And I think you got to be able to block up front. That's just first and foremost. The offensive line has got to do a better job, hence why there was a change made. And you just hope that Shula can get this thing going offensively, because the numbers are not they're not good. They're not good. They were not good at the beginning of the year. They're not good halfway through the season. So offensively, got to figure it out. I know a lot of people are down on Shula right now, but again, I think people were down on Dow Loggins at one point and Marcus Satterfield, and those guys eventually had that breakout game. Will it come for South Carolina under Mike Shula? Remains to be seen, but who knows?
Yeah, and I think, what's so frustrating for a lot of people, and this is at least what I've heard, what I've seen, is you have a quarterback like Lenore Sellers, and you know that there's just a ton of talent there, and we've seen it in flashes this season, and certainly a lot last year. And I feel like people are starting to get this vibe. And again, there's still a lot more football to be played this season, but they're starting to get this vibe that this season is kind of reminiscent of that 2023 year when Spencer Rattler came back. You have a quarterback like Spencer, he's super talented. You have that in a leader on your team and your quarterback and your main guy. And you feel like the season every week is just kind of slipping away from you, for lack of a better term. And I think that that's kind of how this is starting to feel right here for a lot of people. They're saying, okay, we have Lenoris. We're so excited that he came back. He didn't transfer, stayed at South Carolina. He's got a great supporting cast around him. Why aren't we seeing this happen? And we've talked about it. We've talked about the struggles of the run game. We've talked about the offensive line. We've talked about plays breaking down. People might say it's the play calling. Like, there's a lot of different perspectives. But one thing that we have talked about a lot, Jack, is the run game. And someone who's kind of like emerged in the running back room is a guy that a lot of people are really, really high on right now is Matt Fuller. And he played a big role in the beginning of the LSU game, and then it started to dwindle down more and more. And a lot of people were confused as to why that was the case. So what do you chalk that up to, Jack? Why aren't we seeing more of him when he's been a guy that you feel like has kind of brought himself onto the scene and made his name known and earned the opportunity maybe for more carries?
He has earned more carries. He definitely should be getting the ball a lot more than he did on Saturday. Now, he had the 72-yard run at the end of the first quarter there. For those who need a recap, essentially, first quarter, 72-yard touchdown run for Matt Fuller. And then after that, didn't get a single touch until the second half when South Carolina was driving on the first drive of the second half. And he only had 7 carries on the day, went for, I think, about 82 yards. So a pretty good day on the ground, but then you look at, like, why is he not getting the ball after that 72-yard run? Is he injured? Is he not playing? He was out there, but they were not giving him the ball. The thing that I asked Shane about after the game, and it's kind of become a big talking point, is, why did Matt not get in? Why did Matt not get more touches after that touchdown run? And he was basically saying at halftime, he was talking to his coach, was like, hey, we need to get Matt Fuller the freaking football here in the second half. And of course, he got 5 carries in the second half. But I think it was more so chalked up to the fact that they wanted to get that running back rotation going. Rasul Faison had a pretty good night. I think it was probably one of his better performances of the season so far. He had 13 carries, I believe, for about 63 yards, I think, in that game. So he was effective on the ground. So overall, South Carolina ran the ball pretty well, all things considered. Best game so far this season for that group. When you take out the sacks, Kendall, Carolina ran for 248 yards in this game. So an overall very good night for the running back room. But of course, it is mind-boggling to a lot of people, including myself, that Fuller was not getting more touches right after having that big run. You're supposed to ride the hot hand, are you not?
Yeah, and that was what a lot of people were saying. So it is interesting. We'll see if things switch up this weekend as South Carolina takes on Oklahoma. And that's kind of the whole point of this show, to talk about this weekend. Jack's done a Sunday reset. We've talked about the LSU game. There were some moments, some flashes of things looking good. And like I said earlier in the show, I felt like South Carolina had its opportunities to make statements, it had its opportunities to get back in it. And obviously they kept it close for a little while, but it was just ultimately disappointing to see the way things kind of transpired in the third and fourth quarter. So, Jack, we're going to move on to this weekend against Oklahoma. Like we said, 12:45 kickoff. And Oklahoma is probably going to be coming into this game a little mad, I would imagine. So we'll see how it goes. It's not going to be an easy one for South Carolina, and we'll obviously talk about it on Before the Sandstorm, our score predictions. But just as you look ahead to this weekend, where is your confidence level at with South Carolina right now? A lot has gone on in this program over this last week.
You ready to hear this? I think South Carolina is going to win this weekend.
I like the positivity. I love it.
Rarity around here in my world, but yeah, I know. I am picking South Carolina to win this weekend. By the way, spoiler alert. I don't have a score prediction yet, but I would say whatever the over under is for this game, take the under. This is going to be a low scoring affair, I think, between two pretty good defenses. My confidence level is, South Carolina needs this game really badly. Now, you could say the same thing about Oklahoma after losing to Texas, and that's the main thing. Oklahoma looks a lot more like, not invincible, right? They look beatable. Like Texas laid out the game plan for how you go ahead and stop John Mateer and this offense. Texas has got a really good defense, one of the better ones in the country, obviously. But, Mateer is banged up right now, and he threw 3 picks and was sacked 5 times. Just did not get much going offensively. And that's what you're going to need to do. You're going to need to find a way to stop him in this game. Also, this is a great comment here brought up by Robert Mayfield. Bring up another good point. Oklahoma did not run the football well in that game. I believe they had about 48 yards on the ground. So you really do need to figure out a way to slow down this offense. And I think South Carolina has a good chance in this one. This is probably, I would say I agree with this comment here. Probably your easiest SEC game left. You got Alabama after this. You go to Ole Miss. You go to A&M. Those are all top 10 teams right there. I feel pretty good saying South Carolina can win this game on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that South Carolina has a good chance. And again, you nailed it. Texas laid out the roadmap as to how to beat Oklahoma, and Mateer's not at 100% right now. And South Carolina will have an opportunity at home to get a really, really necessary win in the SEC, especially as you look ahead at the schedule that South Carolina has. We've said it a bunch, but for South Carolina, if you want to talk about being in a bowl game, and it's so crazy that we're even talking about this, because at the beginning of the year, we were talking about potential playoff hopes, and now we're talking about getting to 6 wins. And if you want to get to 6 wins, if you're South Carolina, this is key, unless you upset a team that you're really not supposed to beat over the next few weeks, because then as you look ahead to the rest of the schedule, it doesn't really look much better. Clemson hasn't been great this year, so you can feel pretty good about that. Coastal probably should win that game too. But for South Carolina, this one is pretty critical this weekend. And yes, I did. I did. I
was wondering what you were doing there. I'm like,
oh my God.
Am I boring her talking here, guys?
But no, it's just like when I hear that schedule, it stresses me out. When you're talking about it way far in advance, when we do our way too early predictions for the 2025 season, we're talking about it in April and June and July. It's like, okay. And then once it starts to creep up on you, especially in South Carolina's current position, I'm like,
it's a tough schedule. It is. Now, how good will these teams be in a few weeks? How good will Ole Miss and A&M be? Will they still be top 5 teams in the country? Who knows? But this schedule's tough. If we beat Oklahoma, could we transfer that win to a victory over Bama? Well, to be the bearer of bad news, I think you probably are coming away with a split. I would say the point is, you want to get to a bowl game, guys, you got to be able to split these 2 home games. Like we talk about this home field advantage and stuff at Willie B. You got to be able to win one of these next 2. And I think the thing with South Carolina is, in recent memory under Shane Beamer, there's always that one game that you just don't expect them to win, and they find a way. I think this is that weekend for them.
I don't know if I did not pin this as the weekend that I thought South Carolina would win an unexpected game. I actually said that would be against Ole Miss. I retract those comments. Okay. If anyone sees that a few months ago, I don't know who that was who said that. Okay. That was somebody else.
It wasn't Kendall Smith.
It was my twin who said that. So it wasn't me. But yeah, I think that this is realistically South Carolina's best chance with an SEC opponent as we look at the rest of the schedule. And you want to see more out of the offense. You hope the defense plays well. But to know that South Carolina has had a successful weekend offensively, and clearly all eyes are going to be on the offensive line because of the coaching change. But just from the standpoint of the whole offense, what will you say besides a win would make it successful for South Carolina this weekend? Because our definition of success for the offense has certainly changed over the weeks, Jack.
No, it totally has. I just think You can't really pinpoint, I don't think, like what they need to do, like yardage wise, or how much they need to win by. The things I see is cut down on the penalties. You can't have double digit penalties again, Kendall. You just can't. I mean, 13 was way too much against LSU. And it wasn't even just the offensive line. It was some holding calls. It was, pass interference, offsides. I mean, a lot of it was on the O-line. Let's not get it wrong. But, I mean, you got to be better with the penalties in this game. I think we also just need to see them run the ball the way they have been. It's going to be easier said than done against Oklahoma, who's arguably the best defense in the country this season. It's going to be tough, but if you find a way to run the ball in this game and you give Sellers a little bit more time than you have been in the pocket, you're feeling pretty optimistic, I think, offensively, because we know what Lenoris can do. He ran the ball more against LSU, and you take out the sacks, you're in for about 70 yards in that game. So, I mean, he can be more effective in the run game and as a passer, but let's see it. Give him more time out there to throw or to run, and I think some good things can happen.
Yeah, I agree. With Lenoris Sellers, it's been a talking point, and I've seen it in the comments here today as well. Just maybe feeling like he has been told, and this has been debunked. Apparently he has not been told this, to not run. And, you don't want South Carolina to have plays break down and then Lenoris just have to run because he has to run. But people are saying they feel as though he doesn't have that same level of, I don't want to say trust, but kind of that ability to just go do what he has to do. It seems like he might be a little bit more reserved to do that this year. That was something we talked about a lot more at the top of the season, Jack, in the first few weeks. But do you still feel like that's something that appears to be the case? Does it seem like it's not one of those things that Lenoris is as willing to do maybe as he was last year?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say it just feels like we have not seen the complete version of Lenoris. Now, I said, I think after the Kentucky game, that was probably one of his better, if not his more complete performance of the year. But again, it was 150 yards passing and 70 yards on the ground. You need to, I would like to see the Lenoris that is running the way he did against Kentucky, effectively breaking out of tackles and stuff, and then also throwing for 200 plus yards, maybe 250 would be the ballpark you want to get in. But again, it does start with the protection up front. You've got to give him more time in the pocket. A lot of the plays on Saturday, it just felt like he had like 2 seconds of protection up front, and then it would be a swarm of LSU defenders coming right at him. So just find a way to hold on for dear life and just protect that guy, because he needs more time in the pocket to make things happen.
Just a little bit longer, and I agree with that. And this is interesting, people giving their thoughts on what they think, he's doing, spending too much time in the pocket, roll out, and then assess his options. Here's another one here.
The one thing I'll say about rolling out is keep in mind, teams have designated spies on Lenoris. And typically these are linebackers, maybe some DBs, maybe. So there's always going to be somebody looking for the quarterback. And I mean, look, if you roll Lenoris out, what's to stop a free linebacker from rolling out with him to go tackle him? You know what I'm saying? So I understand it. I think he does spend a little too much time waiting in the pocket for things to happen. But again, the protection breaks down so quickly up front to where he just doesn't have much time to assert his options, look all over the field. And maybe sometimes guys aren't open. So there's just so much offensively that is a problem, honestly, that you really have to work out. And again, a lot of it does depend on what 16 does week in and week out.
Yeah, and this is an interesting comment here. And, even last year we saw it, plays breaking down and Lenoris having to make something out of the play that was otherwise going to be nothing or a loss. And he's had to do that, and we know he can do that. I think the difference is this year and what South Carolina was looking for more, and maybe this is where things kind of got mixed up and lost a little bit in translation of they didn't want to see that as much from him. And I think in turn, maybe that got translated somewhere along the lines of it just seems like he's not as willing to do it as he was last year. And I can't exactly pinpoint why that is. We're obviously not behind the closed doors. And South Carolina staff has said time and time again, like they have not told Lenoris that he can't run. But I don't know, it just seems like something is different than last year. And it's not just because the plays were breaking down a lot last season and he had to run. It just seems like there's not that same vibe. And I know you agree with that, Jack. It's hard to pinpoint exactly why that is. And we know that, he hasn't been given a lot of time. We know the offensive line has had its ups and downs throughout the season. There's just a lot with this offense. And you kind of expected by this point in the season that a lot of that would be cleared up. Even the pre-snap penalties, Jack, like that's something we talked about last week prior to the game on Before the Sandstorm. This has to be something South Carolina doesn't get themselves in a mess with. They cannot have all these pre-snap penalties. Well, last week, what happens? South Carolina penalty. It's one of those things where you felt like at this point in the year it would be cleaned up. It's not, but South Carolina has a chance this weekend at home against Oklahoma. We have a couple of sponsors that we want to give a shout out to here on this show. Jack, before we continue any further.
Let's go ahead and talk about Palmetto Golf and Belts. So if you love golf like I do, you need to go check out palmettogolfing.com for the latest custom-made gear. And even if you don't play or don't really care for golf, well, Palmetto Golf and Belts is still a great place to grab a gift for someone that is that favorite golfer in your life. They've got a lot of custom items, including golf gloves, golf tees, golf towels, all available in the South Carolina Garnet, the Cross Design, the Palmetto Tree, and Moon Design, and so much more. One of the coolest things in the shop is the needlepoint belts, which are extremely well made, but also they're more affordable than many of the others on the market. So Palmetto Golf and Belts is operated by Brandon Cohn, who is a big South Carolina fan, a longtime member over at GC. Our members on the Insiders Forum are loving the products that Brandon has in his brand new shop, and he runs special deals all the time. So head on over to palmettogolfing.com, check out his shop, support a South Carolina fan, and GamecockCentral.com member. Get yourself some great gear. Also want to talk to you guys real quick about our friends over at Ferry Chevrolet. So if you are interested in a new or used vehicle, make sure you check out our friends over at Ferry in Orangeburg, South Carolina, just off of I-26. They're led by a fourth-generation dealer in Joseph Ferry. The family-owned business over at Ferry Chevrolet has been serving the community for almost 100 years now, since 1926. As I mentioned, conveniently located off of I-26 between Columbia and Charleston. The folks over at Ferry are local, trustworthy, and always transparent. The business began in St. Matthews and was built on honesty, integrity, and a handshake, and they still operate with those same principles to this day. Head on over to ferrychevrolet.com today to check out their inventory and to get in touch.
I love this comment. This is so good. This is the energy that we need as we are going through what has been a tough season, a disappointing season for South Carolina, but there's still time to turn it around. Games. We'll see how it goes, because after Oklahoma, we'll talk about all that next week, but it won't get easier for South Carolina. But all they have is this weekend, and the game is at 12:45 at Williams-Brice Stadium. Jack will obviously be there, and I know he's excited. And then you're home for another week, and then you hit the road to Oxford. You're gone for back-to-back weeks because you go to Ole Miss and then Texas A&M.
Well, there's a bye week in between as well, and I already have my next bye week planned out. Went to Disney for the first bye week. Going to another football game actually for the November 8th or whatever day it is. Going to Western Carolina versus, I believe they're playing Chattanooga. So
I was going to guess App State. I don't know why. I thought you were going to go to Boone, but
no, I'd love to go to Boone. That sounds fun. But no, Caroline, my girlfriend, she went to Western. So
okay.
We're going. It's homecoming for the Catamounts, and I'm looking forward to it. So hopefully it'll be fun. And then I am going to be traveling out, going to Oxford, going to College Station. It's going to be a lot of driving. Are
you driving to Mississippi?
Yeah. So we're well. Hold on.
That drive is brutal.
Hold on. driving to Tupelo. So that's only 6.5 hours. And then it's in
Oxford.
It's about an hour from there. So, look, the rule of thumb with Shoe is that if it's Arkansas, LSU, Missouri, A&M, you'll fly. But if it's like Ole Miss, anything more inward, closer to Columbia, we're driving. So can't argue with that.
So go to Ole Miss and road trip with you guys and cover it. But my basketball season's about to start, which means that
basketball season.
Yeah, hockey's starting this week, and the basketball will be in just a few weeks. And I have an ESPN something on November 1st. So basically every weekend is booked up for the rest of the year. But that's okay because I will be watching and hoping the best from afar. But yeah, you have an exciting few weeks coming up and an exciting one this weekend. It's so good to be back, by the way. I missed all of you on Wednesday last week. Shout out to, Jack, you didn't do a show, did you? We missed last week.
No, so I did not do a show on Wednesday. I felt it was only right to do it with you. And then Sunday Reset, I did not do because I was flying back from not even flying to LSU. We flew into Mobile, so I did a lot of driving this past weekend. But I got back. We did the teleconference, and then I just didn't do Sunday Reset just because I was just so tired from traveling. So, but we'll be back on the normal schedule this week doing shows.
Again, before the sandstorm
Yeah.
coming up. And yeah, Jack and I actually spent a lot of time together. We did do a road trip together once. We drove to
we went to Tennessee. That was that was fun.
That was right after we had graduated school. It was that fall, the 2023 season, the one I was talking about earlier. Night game at Tennessee. And
remember the hotel we stayed at?
Yes. Yep.
Like we got back after that game, which Carolina did not play well in. We get back and the power is out. And it was at like some, I don't even know where it was. It was like a Quality Inn or something, but it was like, I don't even know if it was a Quality Inn because there's nothing quality about that Quality Inn that we were at. So
the power was out and I was just like overstimulated at that point. It was actually crazy. Yes, shout out hockey. I work in hockey. Full-time job is in baseball, but I work in hockey as well for the Florida Panthers AHL affiliate. So we start on Friday at home, which is super fun. I was a figure skater growing up my whole life. So working around hockey, being around the ice is the best, and I really love it. By the way, shameless plug here. South Carolina's club team is playing in an outdoor game at Truist Field, which is where I work. That's the baseball team that I work for, their baseball field. They put an ice rink up, full-size NHL rink every year, and South Carolina is playing North Carolina this year on November 14th. It's a Friday night. Last year they played here, but it was on a game day in Columbia, so like a lot of people weren't coming. But this year, since it's on a Friday, come drive down to Charlotte, enjoy your weekend, and watch South Carolina hockey. They have a great fan base, and it's super fun. So, yeah, shout out to hockey. And don't feel old. 85 wasn't that long ago.
Well, that was 40 years ago.
When I think about it in that context, that is crazy to me because I still love 80s music and stuff. Like that was my whole childhood growing up. My parents made me listen to it. So it's crazy. It was 40 years ago. But Jack, I feel like we graduated forever ago. We're coming up on 3 years.
And it's crazy. It's how time's flying. It's wild.
I highly recommend trying it. Go during
go try it.
Yeah, it's super, super fun. But anyways, now we're just starting to ramble on and on and on and on. So poor Jack, his Yankees have been eliminated from the playoffs.
The Bills are doing bad.
Bills are struggling. I don't know
what. The Islanders suck. It's just fun times, Kendall.
I'm sorry, Jack. At this point, I don't even know. I don't care who wins the World Series at this point. I'm just enjoying it for good baseball. The game the other night, though, did you stay up and watch it? Mariners Tigers.
15 yeah, I did. Yeah, when I got back, that was Friday night, right? I got back going out for a little bit and got back and turned the game on. It was 15th inning. I was like, whoa, this is it's crazy.
Yeah, that was a very long game. I was committed to it, so I stayed up for the whole game, and wow, what a game. Anyways, okay, that's it. We're rambling, and we're going to have the people who like it when we talk about baseball talk about us and say that we shouldn't be talking about baseball. I'll never forget that.
Neither will I.
I feel like I'm going to make it my mission every single show to bring up something about baseball because I don't care.
Yeah, you guys are just adding fuel to the fire. So
exactly, that just added fuel to our fire. Okay, everybody, thank you so much, and let's hope for a good weekend for South Carolina. This has been GC Live here on Gamecock Central. Happy Wednesday to all of you. We hope you have a great rest of your day. For Jack Veltri, I'm Kendall Smith, and we'll see y'all for Before the Sandstorm this Saturday, bright and early. So make sure you have your coffee and set your alarm. We'll see you then. Bye.